My name is Amanda Gailey, Gailey. From the beginning, I approached this bill with a great deal of skepticism. The same senators who are sponsoring this supposed paean to free speech have for months been working to punish a grad student who used words they don't like, have described my silent and civil protest of Turning Point USA as immoral and accosting and a fireable offense. Their political allies have demanded the rescission of the scholarships of Black student athletes who peacefully protest state violence, and they have demanded the work and private emails of faculty who have criticized them. How they square this assault on dissent with a bill that protects, quote, without limitation, ideas and opinions individuals find unwelcome, disagreeable, or even deeply offensive, unquote, requires awe-inspiring gymnastics of hypocrisy. Sure enough, a close reading of this bill reveals ulterior motives I can only briefly explain here. In short, the first part of the bill establishes that sanctions must be taken against anyone on campus who interferes with another's free speech. The second part of the bill establishes a committee staffed by regents, faculty, and students with no provisions for how they will be selected, which is worrisome given TPUSA's history with student elections. Further, the bill requires that the committee provide the governor and legislators with a report on any kind of potential free speech issues on campus ahead of the legislative session. In other words, it requires the university to deputize potentially partisan onlookers to supply the governor and legislators the materials to conduct targeted attacks and defamations of campus dissenters for political grandstanding purposes. Finally, Section 4, Number 2A in the amended bill contains buried treasure. It specifies that one barrier to free speech that must be reported will be investigations into students or student organizations for their speech. That's right, the bill characterizes it as a barrier to free speech if someone on campus investigates a student organization for their speech. So you want to know who the Nazis are yelling, "Jews will not replace us" on your quad? Too bad. Senators Halloran, Brewer, and Erdman want to make sure nothing impedes the invitation of Nazis to campus. And once they show up, if you so much as investigate what they are up to or who is behind them, you will have violated their free speech and must be sanctioned. So this bill violates the state constitution, but I'd like it also to be known that the bill, like the senators' behavior these last months, is an attack on the very principles it hides behind.
Thank you. Questions?
I'm also employed at the English department at UNL, and I can't speak for the department, but if I can, as an individual, lend insight into some of the current claims that have been restoked by people in this room, including people on this committee, I'd be happy to.
Well, I will give you a chance because it's out there about the website for the university. It's out there on the English department, and it's got very little to do with Shakespeare or Chauncey or any of those people.
Have you looked at our course catalog, sir?
Oh, I was just talking about.
Do you realize that a class on Shakespeare is taught, I believe, every semester in our department? And that when I listened to inexpert outsiders criticizing our curriculum for teaching social justice issues last fall, I was in the middle of teaching T.S. Eliot, Walt Whitman, and Emily Dickinson in my courses because the people leading this attack have absolutely no interest in the truth. They are inexperts, and I just commented on the websites. Yes, the mission statement is not the course catalog. The course catalog is a listing of courses.
I'm asking about a student, an 18-year-old student in Washington State that looks at and is thinking about majoring in English at the University of Nebraska and looks at your website.
Yes. What about them?
The mission statement.
Right. That's our mission statement, not a course catalog. And thankfully, most of our students are aware of the difference, even if senators on this committee are not.
Thank you. You asked me, that you clarify some questionable stuff that a lot of people have.
It's only questionable when ideologically driven inexperts defame, lie, and distort for political purposes and grandstanding purposes.
I'll ask you another question. The young lady testified earlier about the list of who's welcome.
Right.
Does it offend you there was nobody, Muslim was there but not Christian?
Yeah, so a couple things. I believe that free speech rights cover speech that we find offensive, correct? That's what this bill is meant to cover. So even if someone in this room finds that signage offensive, it would still be covered by the Free Speech Act. Second of all, Another thing that we teach when we study rhetoric is that because you make one claim, it does not preclude other claims from being true. So if I say something like, I appreciate the work of Senator Patty Pansing Brooks, that does not mean that I necessarily don't appreciate the work of anyone else on this committee. Saying that Muslims are welcome in our department does not entail that Christians are not welcome in our department. And if not being included in having egos coddled constitutes a violation of free speech, I worry about how a policy like the one encoded in this bill would be enacted in practice.
But you do understand that political speech leads to perception, and perception leads to funding, and perception leads to enrollment.
So are you trying to regulate perception with this bill or free speech?
No, I am just telling you the political reality of free speech.
I thought we were talking about the bill and policy and not whether or not you personally
Thank
approve
you
of
for
the
your
perceptions.
answer. Any other questions of the